Hi everyone, welcome back to Foster Swift's podcast, Businesswomen Talking, a podcast where we dive into the stories, insights, and experiences of businesswomen today. I'm one of your co-hosts, Amanda Dernovshek.
And I'm your other co-host, Lindsey Mead, and today we're joined by a special guest, Sarah Reckhow. Sarah, we're happy to have you.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to talk with you.
We're excited to have you. We're going to dive in first a little bit about Sarah's background and bio, so you all get to know her at home, and then we're going to ask some questions. So to start, Sarah is a professor in the Department of Political Science at Michigan State University. She reached her PhD from the University of California, Berkeley in 2009. Her research and teaching interests include urban politics, education policy, and nonprofits and philanthropy. And Sarah has published many educational articles related to those topics. She has also authored 2 books, one a co-authored text titled Outside Money in School Board Elections, The Nationalization of Education Politics, and another titled Follow the Money, How Foundation Dollars Change Public School Politics, which examines the role of major foundations, such as the Gates Foundation in school reform.
So aside from her successes as a professor at Michigan State University, she also has a business outside of that, and it's called Hooked. It's a local spot that it's kind of a coffee shop, bookstore, wine. I was just sharing with her before, it's just a lovely place to gather with friends and connect over a cup of coffee. So she opened Hooked in 2022 with her husband, who is also an MSU professor. His name is Matt Grossman. And she considers Hooked a place for everyone with fiction, nonfiction, baked goods, and a generous selection of coffees and wines. So yeah, let's just jump right into the questions. Unless there's anything you want to add about your backstory, okay?
Oh, no.
Okay, great.
Yeah, first, I just want to say thank you for hosting our first Businesswomen Talking coffee chat at Hooked. We had a great time there, so we really appreciate it. But I also want to ask what really inspired you and your husband to start that venture? What made you say, a coffee shop is what Lansing needs?
So we moved to Lansing in 2007, and you might recall that was the start of the Great Recession, and it was a tough time. There were businesses closing down. We had also moved from Berkeley, California, a place that has kind of an abundance of coffee shops and wine bars and places like that. And so we just started talking early on when we moved here, when we had no resources or capacity to start a business, but to just say, wouldn't it be neat someday to open a cafe here, if things start to turn around. But the idea evolved a little bit. During the year, we had the opportunity to do a sabbatical, which with the university every 7 years, you kind of have this chance to take a year and maybe go to a different place and do your research and work there. And so we spent a year in Cambridge, Massachusetts, brought our kids, we all moved, and we loved, the bookstore culture there was just incredible, and it got our thoughts churning about bookstores as well. At that point, there had previously been a Barnes & Noble in downtown East Lansing that had closed down. The Schuler Books that used to be at Eastwood had also closed down. And so when we came back here in 2019, we thought, wow, what if the cafe idea was also a bookstore?
Yeah.
And that was really how the spark of those things came together.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so I love the backstory, and I think it's more than just a coffee shop wine store. You can also, like we talked about, it's a place for community to come together and meet. And so you've hosted networking coffee chats and author series and book clubs. What sparked those initiatives specifically, and how do you think that those are impacting your customers and our community?
So it was very much in our thinking, design, and planning for Hook to have events be a feature and a focus, and sort of the tagline, books, coffee, wine, community, that is the community aspect.
Yep.
And I think it comes from sort of the dual motivation of what we wanted, why we're doing this as an enterprise. It was partly about building a gathering place, a place for people to talk about books, but also just be in groups, whether it's for a meeting or people with shared interests to get together. There's a new Lansing Collage Club that's now meeting monthly. I mean, the different types of groups that come and gather just is beyond my wildest imagination, and we love that. I think what I would add kind of more from the business angle is that the reality is that people can buy books in lots of places now. They can buy them online. You can buy books at Meijer and Costco and Walmart. And so what you kind of encounter when you're thinking about a bookstore as a business is sort of how do you remind people like what you offer when you're an independent brick and mortar business and you're based in a particular local community. And events are such an important part of that. I think it reminds people why this space and why spending time there and maybe choosing to buy some of your books in this space brings something to the community that you wouldn't necessarily get because of a big box store where yes, you can also buy books there. We also have a different and unique type of book selection and other aspects, but we realize that there's a business side to it as well that shows sort of all the additional things that are offered that, if you buy online, you can't have that necessarily.
Yes.
Well, I love that you say that there is kind of a curated selection of books that really makes an independent store stand out. So can you walk us through not only how you kind of fine-tune what books you want on the shelves, but also your wine selection and your coffee choices? How did those visions come to be with Hooked?
So we have wonderful, wonderful staff and managers who work at Hooked, and two people. So our bookstore manager is Caitlin Lyles. She has worked at Hooked ever since we opened, came to Hooked with a lot of experience in book selling, and so the book curation and selection is really a testament to Caitlin's knowledge and thoughtfulness and experience and kind of getting to know our customers, and that's evident throughout the store. You also will find staff recommendations, like a whole shelf of staff recommendations in Hooked, and there are definitely customers who were specifically like, where are Caitlin's recommendations? So that's one piece. We also have our cafe manager, James, also has been with us since we opened 3 years ago. And so the food, the wine, the drinks are also kind of partly a contribution of our staff, and we do try to have like a seasonal aspect to our menu, and so people like staff members help create like our coffee flights, for example, and the different flavors. You'll find the cocktail flights as well. The other piece that was really important to Matt and I and how we wanted to run the business was to have local food selection, and to kind of be part of an ecosystem of local business. So like playing our own part and also supporting local business. And so in selecting the baked goods, we have Stone Circle Bakery, right, based down in Holt, where they have incredible stuff, great croissants. We also buy from Social Sloth, Turkish bakery, and then there's Honey Bun is another local bakery, and then a little more seasonal, but you'll find like salad from, if you know Tantai, their Peruvian restaurant like in Okamis, and so we get their kale salad. It's featured in one of our sandwiches. So that was kind of the other, just being part of this Lansing community and featuring that in Hooked was really important to us.
Yeah, I think that's, I love that. You're like, I want to build a community, and let's reach out to our community partners, and let's all come together and be better as one. And it sounds like you guys are doing that in every way that you can with this business. So I want to transition a little bit away from Hooked for a moment and ask about how you manage all the different things that you have going on. So you're a businesswoman, you and your husband own Hooked, you have all your duties with being a professor and the responsibilities that come with that. You mentioned that you have children. How do you balance all of those aspects? And I'm sure that every day is different and there's demands from all of those sources. So how do you manage that, and what are some lessons that you've learned along the way?
Yeah, it's been an evolving process as we've sort of learned to balance the various things. I mean, one aspect is as our kids are a bit older now, so at this point they're 11 and 13, and they've been part of our conversation about the business from the get-go. Our daughter actually came up with the name Hooked, and she's very proud of that. So we do kind of have a mix of partly the fact that we have wonderful staff at Hooked, and so kind of on a day-to-day running the business aspect, right, that is entirely because of having great staff. Yep. And then Matt and I kind of each have our areas that we work within. So Matt does kind of more of the logistics side of things, payroll and scheduling and things like that. And I do primarily events and a bit of that kind of more like creative programming side of things, and reaching out to authors, things of that nature. And so that, it took a little while to kind of figure that out, but that has been, we think, a kind of sustainable way to balance the various duties and work. But it's also that we get a lot of joy out of doing what we do with Hooked, and so it doesn't feel like work in the same kind of way. It's also, I think, an outlet for some creativity that while I'm grateful and there's a lot that I like about my job at MSU, sometimes when you're in an institution with a large bureaucracy, you have to deal with the fact that you can't always, ideas you have may not be able to take flight or go to fruition. And whereas with Hooked, if we have a brainstorm or an idea, we can often say, well, let's try it.
Yes.
And then actually try the thing.
Yeah, that's great.
I think it's also interesting, as Amanda and I really got into your bio and learned more about Hooked, that both you and your husband are professors at MSU and also have this business venture together. So I was really fascinated by that and curious about how you feel like having your spouse as your business partner may be different to picture yourself as doing this venture on your own, as solo, or like a business acquaintance, as opposed to somebody maybe you could have more vulnerable conversations with. What is it like to know that you're a team?
Yes, we very much are a team. Matt and I met and started dating in 2004. So been together for more than 20 years. And so I think, there's a important degree to which we can be just extremely honest with each other about things going on, right? And so if you think of other types of work or professional relationships you might have, and sometimes, you maybe have to dance around something, or you don't know quite where you no, we can cut right to the chase with each other. And that definitely has some upsides. I think but importantly though, we also have, we know sort of our lanes that we're working in. That's useful too. I think it could get to be a bit too much or too intertwined to a certain degree, depending on how you set that up. And we do enjoy working together. That's very much the case, and hope to continue doing so. And like I said, the kids have heard many Hooked conversations over the past few years. Doesn't mean we always agree. We have definitely had our disagreements on one particular decision or another, but talk through it, eventually come to some sort of plan going forward.
Great. So I wanted to ask too, I think part of what we are hoping to do in these conversations is to see the successes that people have had, but also recognize that there are struggles with being a business person in general. So can you share with us something that was difficult and how you overcame that difficulty?
Wow. So there's been a few. One that immediately comes to mind, and folks who are in the area and remember this from last summer will probably be able to conjure this in their minds. There was the huge rain last summer. There were a couple of like really, really heavy rainstorms in Lansing. And unfortunately, Hooked flooded. Yeah.
Even though it's like sets up above the street level?
Exactly. So it was not because of flooding from the ground level, but it was actually a building issue where it was coming in through a window, and there had been just the way the drainage was set up in this area adjacent to this window. It took a while to figure that out, however. And it was one of these moments where you just had to kind of drop everything and jump into the situation and figure out what to do. And our staff were kind of super helpful, and we were all, but shut down. We get all the books and shelves. I mean, water and books are a really bad combination. And so we did that. And then the crazy thing was it happened again. So it actually happened twice last summer. And so one learning process was we got really good at knowing how to deconstruct and reconstruct the store.
Silver lining.
And even because the first time, unfortunately, pulling books off the shelves and moving things was a bit more haphazard and chaotic. Second time around, a little more organized. But I think it, was a few things we sort of learned, like, okay, this can happen and we can roll with it, and everyone kind of jumps in, tries to help out, but then we could reopen a couple of days later and keep moving. Had to deal with insurance and lots of issues to sort of get things paid for in terms of damage and replacing things. So it was just a lesson in all the sort of crisis management aspects of a business and those realities. It wasn't fun by any stretch, but I think we came out of it feeling like, okay, handled that.
And feeling like we're resilient. We can, whatever comes up, we'll do it together, tackle it, and get through it. Great.
Well, what about a success story too? I think we're equally interested in something that maybe you never pictured Hook could do, having now done by creating that community space for folks. What's something that comes to mind?
Oh yeah. So I mean, some of the events we've had have just been really, really exciting and fun and memorable. Just this year, we were able to host Lori Nelson Spielman, who is the author. She's a local author of The Life List, which...
I just put that on my Netflix watch list last night.
Wow.
Yeah, so her book
became
a Netflix movie. And so that was really special and exciting to have a local author and who's had that kind of success. And so we invited her to do a book event this spring, and the turnout was extraordinary. Wow. I mean, just so fun. And she had people from throughout her life. She had been a teacher, so she had former students who came and family members, but they were community members. So, I mean, it had to have been close to 80 people, okay, which is like, it isn't that big. So it was really, really packed. And so being able to celebrate a local author who is having this like really special moment, that felt special for us. And to sort of see, all the people who wanted to turn out and enjoy that and hear about the book, talk about the movie. And so, it was one of these moments where it felt like, okay, we can, plan large events like this. It can be, a space where people really want to celebrate a big moment. And, we're trying to kind of keep this rolling. If I can mention one other thing that I feel is part of some of the like larger community goals we have with Hooked is also connecting with the bookstore community more broadly. And so one thing that's really nice is the there are other new local bookstores in Lansing. Right here downtown, there's a Novel Concept, there's Robin Books down in Rehotown, Wayfaring Booksellers. And so we have connected with these other entrepreneurs, gotten to know them, talked about how, sort of when through collaboration we can raise the profile of local independent bookstores in Lansing. And so last year, in collaboration with these other booksellers, we hosted the first ever Lansing Lit Festival in September, and it was broad bookstore collaboration, had author events across lots of different locations, and we're doing it again. So it'll be September 19th to 21st in 2025. Really, really excited about that, and just happy that we can be part of this larger community, which I think is just so important to what we want to be able to do with Hooked.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
So I know you mentioned it's called Lansing Lit Festival. Okay, great. So looking ahead, aside from that, what are some of the goals that you have for Hooked, and what are the ideas that you have that you're hoping to bring to life?
So I think we want to continue to be a point of connection between MSU and Lansing. And I feel like we've gotten some of that going, but we want to kind of keep the ball rolling forward. I mean, our location is right south of Frandor on Michigan Avenue. We are walking distance from, basically the western side of the MSU campus. We're also located in the city of Lansing, although regularly people will mistake that and think Hooked is in East Lansing, but we are in the city of Lansing. And so we physically feel like a bridge between Lansing and MSU. And I think by drawing students into Hooked, which we do have a lot of students who are customers, we want to also kind of draw them towards the fact that there's this whole city here, which has a lot to offer. And so things like Lansing Lit, connecting with the larger bookstore community is definitely part of that. But I think it's also through the kinds of events we can continue to plan that are community focused, that might draw in both Lansing-based organizations as well as campus-related organizations, but maybe also more intentionally drawing those groups together. That is really important to us, and part of how we feel about kind of our foot in the MSU community, but also foot in the local business community.
Yeah. One other thing I want to ask, Sarah, knowing that your career path is technically rooted in academia, and I imagine then deciding to start a business was kind of steering away from that path in some ways. What advice would you give rather to people who may be on a different path that are interested in trying something new like you did?
So I think it's been fun, it's been fulfilling, it has also been a juggle. And so being honest with yourself about, I think, whether you're in a spot in your life where a bit of extra uncertainty is something you feel that you can handle, right? Where maybe you don't know if there's going to be like a flood next week or something, but that would be okay. You're not okay, but you'd be able to kind of manage that is important. And that was, the timing for us was important in that respect in a couple ways. I mean, one was our sort of career trajectory at MSU, that we both had gotten tenure, for example, sort of created more space and a little less stress with like the day-to-day work of our jobs at MSU. Also, the ages of our children played a part in that. Frankly, also like financial situation in terms of our personal finances, feeling like we could handle some risk financially as well. All of that was really important to feeling like it was okay to take this step. But on the kind of positive side, we also, I sometimes joke that starting Hooked was a little bit of a midlife crisis for both of us, but it also was this feeling that, well, is there something more we could be doing, that we both felt like we had this area of, interest and activity that we wanted to be able to pursue. It wasn't quite available in in our work at MSU, and that maybe we should just try it out.
Yeah. I love that you share both, not the glimmer of an idea, but also the practical realities of timing is important, and your other responsibilities are important before the risk, because I think we've had a lot of really wonderful interviews about the payoff of that risk, but not so much the assessment before taking the leap. So I think that'll resonate with a lot of people.
Yep, agreed. So we have one final question. We ask everybody the same question. And it's just, if you could go back to the beginning of, let's say the beginning of starting Hooked, what is one piece of advice you would tell yourself?
So I think I would tell myself to keep my eye on the long term. That a lot of the stress, especially in that first year, was just getting really wrapped up in some of the week-to-week and day-to-day stuff that we were just learning. It was new. There was uncertainty in decisions, and that was a stressful year. Cannot deny that. But the long-term vision, I think we did keep it in sight, but it's been just very important to keep reminding ourselves of that it takes a while to feel like the routines are established, to feel like financially you're headed in the right direction, to feel like sort of all the aspects of the vision are actually you're able to bring them together, and maybe not all at once, in that first year. And I think sometimes we put maybe a little too much pressure on ourselves that first year, but now it's starting to feel like, okay, the various pieces really are happening, and the day-to-day and the processes really are functioning. So that's been positive, for sure. But that gets to your earlier question, that you gotta, that first year of uncertainty it can be a tough one.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and telling us about how you started that, how the idea even came to be. I love that you had exposure to different communities with different options, and you all thought, this is what Lansing needs. I personally love it, so I'm really glad that you opened it and took that leap of faith, and we really appreciate your time to talk about that today.
Yeah, it was great having you, Sarah. For folks interested in learning more about Hooked, we'll link to Hooked's website in our podcast episode page, as well as where you can reach our other episodes on our firm's landing page and our YouTube channel.
And if you'd be interested in joining us for a conversation about your experiences, stories, and insights as a businesswoman, please reach out to us at info@fosterswift.com. We'd love to talk with you.
We'll see you next time on Businesswomen Talking. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.